You're listening to Toronto's #1 real estate podcast, powered by Watson Estates. The most successful local real estate investing starts right here, right now. Here's your host, broker, investor, and social media influencer, Bradley Watson.
Good morning, investors. Bradley here from Watson Estates. Happy Friday, August 14th, 2020. We're here to talk about a little subject called Toronto real estate, the hottest of hot, the hottest topics in town. And we are the largest, fastest growing podcast for that subject. Thank you for tuning in once again for our regulars, and welcome. Welcome to you newbies. I just got back from a cottage, and you know what they say, there's two kinds of people without beards, boys and women. And today, I am neither. Yeah, back from the cottage. I got some facial hair. Yeah, but I don't grow a pretty beard. It's kind of like the Sidney Crosby beard, the boy beard. But my kids, they still don't kiss me. It's enough. Even my 2-month-old has somehow learned to turn her head to avoid any of daddy's smooshes. But today, we're not going to talk about my beard, but we might along the way. We're going to talk about Toronto real estate. Why are Toronto real estate prices so high? We talk about this all the time, but we got an article today from Mortgage Broker News. I want to dive into some of the topics that they say because, let's face it, I'm not original. All I do is I just regurgitate. I take the news that I'm reading and I like to process it. We go in my mind, we process it, get this little formula going on, and out spits the results of how I'm going to use my investment dollars and what I share with my clients, how they're investing. So we're going to talk about another perspective on why prices are so high. Is, quote, free money for the next 2 years a good thing? So you guys probably know from interest rates being so low, you're seeing the result of it, but things are getting easier. Stress tests are coming down. Is this a good thing? Is this something we should be worried about? And what does this all look like? Because there is a huge battle going on between what would seem like two friends in the high levels of Canadian government. We're going to get there as well. And where can you buy a detached home in Toronto for under $1 million? They do exist. They really, really do. And so we're going to get into all of these things. Thanks again for tuning in. But as I relate to the beard thing, before I move on, some people, they grow these big, majestic, beautiful beards. And they get these like really cool beard oils going, you know? And here I am. That's me itching my beard. If you can't hear it, it's because I have no beard. If you can't hear it, it's because I'm disgusting. And then some people are just like, it's not a beard. It's chinsulation. I guess I'm not manly enough. All right, here we go. Let's talk about why prices in Toronto are so outrageously high. Thank you, Mortgage Broker News, for your article. This is how they start off. As one of Canada's most desirable housing destinations. What do you mean one of? You mean the most? Toronto's home prices remain at the mercy of multiple factors despite the considerable impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Da, da, da. All right, so here's the highlights. This is a really short, sweet article. And it's kind of like my beard. Short and sweet. Oh, brutal. All right, number one, land transfer tax. Land transfer tax and fees is the reason. It's not, that's what's keeping prices down. It's the reason your prices are so expensive. The more government sticks their nose in it, the bigger the problem. Here's what they have to say. Land transfer tax and fees, which the Canadian Taxpayer Federation recently tagged as among the most onerous consumer side burdens, representing an additional, how much land transfer do you think you pay? $54,000 to every detached home in Toronto. That's a municipal one. That is not provincial. Provincial is also on top of that. It's expensive. It is expensive. And let's say you want to buy new. You know, I'm going to buy a new house. Okay, well, you think it's cheaper because it is advertised that way, but then you add in development charges and then not to mention property taxes, which is for everybody anyways and comes as a big bulk amount to you if you buy new in some cases. Development charges and property taxes adds a further $150K per transaction, along with thousands of dollars more annually. You're going to pay a nice little hefty amount of money out of pocket to buy new. All of these things come at such a big price tag. Here's one thing they say. One reason in particular for our high land transfer tax and development charges is that the provincial legislation restricts how the city of Toronto can generate cash flow. Interesting point. We know they can't run deficits because we've been hearing about it time and time again, but this is what they say. Unlike many North American cities, Toronto cannot add a surtax on income or a sales tax on products like gasoline or tax education or healthcare facilities yet. Now, will that mean more taxation? Sure, that's going to solve our problem. Let's do that. Let's tax. But they're saying that the city of Toronto would be able to regulate, and thereby all the other surrounding cities, you would assume, would be able to regulate their products, and they could charge extra taxes because they can't run a deficit. And to remove that deficit thing would just mean terrible spending. And it would mean some cities would drastically outperform others in the long term, which we don't want that either, because the GTA is a great place all the way around, and let's keep it that way. Another thing, if I were to summarize what they're saying, a reason your home prices are so expensive is old people. That's just how I say it because I'm rude. Another driver of elevated home prices is the baby boomer cohort. Oh, that's what they want to be called. A generation that was fortunate enough to have been able to invest in Toronto homes back when prices were nowhere near their current dizzying heights. Data from Altus Group indicates that single-family homes, which account for a significant portion of available housing in Toronto, single-family homes, 71% of homeowners wanted to have their preferred living option being at their home they're in now between the ages of 65 and 74. That's actually lower than I thought. People don't, the stats have showed, people, older people, you people, these old folk, they don't want to leave their houses. And they're close to everything. They still have, there's so much vibrance in life. People can come take care of them at home. Why would I lock myself up in one of these little senior centers? Because clearly they're not doing so hot. And I don't think that this trend is going to change, at least not for a little while. Maybe the military can fix it for us. The next reason you're seeing expensive home prices that they say is foreign purchases, and I added to it immigration, because I think anytime we talk about foreign purchases, you got to, I'm seeing foreign purchases dropping so quickly that really money coming into our country is through immigration, which is totally different. Toronto has seen its prices almost triple from 2000 to 2017, with foreign investment and purchases being a leading driver of the rise. And they say while foreign presence has substantially decelerated, which is my point, in the last few months due to the coronavirus outbreak, but really it was decreasing pre-COVID. That's something to be important to mention as well. But maybe COVID got in the way. Time will tell. Maybe COVID slowed that portion down. Is immigration going to come back? The government wants it to, and I think it will. And the numbers seem to be showing that it will rise as borders open. Canada shows itself to be a wonderful place to be. There's going to be people standing at the border in waves trying to get in, saying, oh, they're like looking for every excuse. This is not a beard. It's a passport to awesome. And before we move on to the idea of free money, there was a little survey. I like these little surveys that are done by people that actually have a lot of friends. From John Pasalis on Twitter. He said this: how would you describe your personal financial situation right now in light of COVID-19? Over 1,000 people commented. Over 1,000 people. This is what they said. 27% said it better than ever before. That's pretty impressive. 47.9% no significant change. And 14.6 said less income but not worried. And 10.4 said less income, very worried. So out of 100 people, 10 of them are the reason that you need a security camera on your property. But people seem to be doing pretty good, generally speaking. That's better than I would think. And obviously, there's good supports in place here in Canada. Many countries around the world are struggling with. Here I am itching my beard as I'm talking. Ugh. You can probably pick it up in the mic. It's just like, ugh, you hear this like scratching sound. Definitely need to shave. Beards are not for me. Now, if I had a sexy beard, maybe. All right, let's move on to topic number 2. Free money. Mortgage feast could last 2 years. Guys, I could have put this topic at the top, but I like to put the top articles of the day, the things that pop up on the news feed at the beginning, which is the only reason this isn't at the top. But this very well could be the best content in this podcast today. Hope you're ready. Here we go. Record low mortgage rates for homes and multifamily properties will continue for at least 2 years, according to the Bank of Canada. And as it chopped, the qualifying rate for mortgage stress test August 14th for the second time this year. I think it was, 2 days ago I did my podcast. I told you it's coming. They expected it to come. We were seeing banks dropping their rates, and this expectation was there that this rate would come down. And in fact, it's exactly what they said. It went down from 4.94 to 4.79. Not the lowest it's ever been, but still the second rate cut since May. Now, this isn't a cut to your interest rate, though we will see some interest rate cuts happening because of it. This is simply your qualifying amount. This is your stress test, the stress test, right? that many people are now familiar with, but you don't need to you need to qualify at 4.79, but you don't need to get a mortgage at 4.79 if you are. Time to reevaluate your life. Buyers need to qualify at the Bank of Canada 5-year rate, but they don't have to pay it. In fact, HSBC is offering right now a 5-year fixed at 1.89, which is very good. We have banks as low as 2.19 between RBC, Scotiabank, CIBC, and we've got these little known brokers, mortgage brokers from Butler Mortgages actually dangling a 1.66% 5-year fixed on mortgages for at least $300,000 with as little as 5% down right now in Toronto. These are bigwig guys. These are, I believe, the #1 mortgage company in the GTA and #1 for investment properties in the GTA. It's the reason why I will be recording an interview with the man himself, Dave Butler, next week. I have a scheduled appointment with him on Friday through a call. And so if you guys have any questions regarding the mortgage industry to ask this top mortgage professional in our city, leave it in the comments. Let me know, is there anything you want me to ask him? I'm putting together the questions right now. He's a great guy, familiar on YouTube, but I have met him face to face in the past, and I'm excited to have him on a show because I want the top people. And so as well, if you have other guests you want us, I've been intentionally working on getting amazing guests on this podcast to share with our audience. You guys are worth it. You guys are worth it. All right. But that doesn't stop at single family. If you're just curious, maybe you got multifamily units. Well, CMHC's insured rates right now, just to give you an idea, are 1.57 for a 5-year term. They're 1.91 for a 10-year term. These are units 5 doors plus 5 rooms, or not for rooms, but 5 doors is what they call it. 5 units, sorry. 5 units, I call it doors, for multifamily mortgages under $5 million, or if you're over $5 million, it's 1.27 for a 5-year, 1.61 for a 10-year. So the more expensive you go, the cheaper the rates, more money available to the lenders, lower risk, of course. But this is like free money, right? Free money. Really, think about it. You're paying 2% annual mortgage rates, and then you've got an average home price increase in our market of 5.4% annually. 5.4%. According to CREA, that's across the country, and let alone here. Obviously, we do even better. It's an incentive to buy now. As we bring rates down, this is a further incentive by the Bank of Canada to make it easier. We want you to spend. We want to encourage home ownership and affordability in our country. Well, good for you. Canadian interest rates are very low and will remain very low for a long period. That comes from the mouth of McLem, the Bank of Canada. So now we've got this tension. Right, we've got this tension right now between CMHC, the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation, and the BOC, the Bank of Canada. The BOC, I should start calling it BOC. I like that. All right, we got this conflict, which has been pointed out. I actually mentioned it a couple days back. Where I'm like, why would you bring your stress test down during a recession? Like, if we really, in fact, so I've already been asking these questions, but it's happening at the bigger table too. And here are some questions being thrown out. John Pasalis asked these on a podcast, on an interview, I believe it was. BNN Bloomberg. Here's some of the questions. They're going to sound familiar, but very important and shows the tension that's happening right now between the BOC and the CMHC. This is the question. While we all can agree high household debt is the problem in Canada, how many people agree with CMHC's argument that a recession is the right time to tighten credit? Right? Like, we were trying to do it in anticipation for a recession. But now if we're in the recession, as CMHC is clearly saying we are, and I don't disagree with them being able to say that, but is this the time to be making it easier to buy a house? Like, rationally. CMHC appears to be trying to influence changes to mortgage underwriting by writing letters that try to appeal to the moral sentiments of banking executives. That's not how change happens. We were making fun of this too. Please. I need you guys to do what I did because we're losing market share, please. Right? Doing what CMHC asked would just mean hurting their markets too. You think these other insurers are going to do it? You think they're all going to follow suit? No. I don't want to lose business like you did. You just proved you're losing business, and now you're begging me to do it for you and with you. No. Any bank that follows CMHC's request and tightens credit is likely to face the exact same undesirable outcome that CMHC now faces: significantly eroded market share when their competitors don't follow. So I'm going to follow you off a cliff, and then that guy's not, and he's going to clean house. Banks are not silly enough to go down that road, and that's why they won't. CMHC, bad business decision, CEO of the century. Finally, CMHC appears to be on this mission alone. The Bank of Canada doesn't appear to agree, and even the federal government appears to disagree. If the feds were on side, why didn't they make CMHC's competitors tighten credit as well? Good point. And therein lies the tension between the CMHC, the BOC, and the feds. We need to come up with the feds of C. Federal government. But the big tension really is the Bank of Canada and CMHC, because the Bank of Canada, they're making it easier, right? They're making it easier right now for people by making interest rates come down. They're trying to encourage spending, go out and encourage spending. But then we got the CMHC, and they're sitting over just creating additional confusion. Here's how he puts it. I think, so confusion has created conflict between these two. I think at this point is the most difficult one to make sense of and to reconcile. I can't recall the last time CMHC tightened credit without a requirement for their competitors to follow. There are certainly interesting times. There's a lot of people that are, including me, that are scratching our heads like, why now? Like, are we not supposed to make it? We're trying to protect. So if what you're saying is true, namely, we are going to have a 9 to 18% drop in prices. If that is true, which you believe it's true, you've been very vocal, even up to this week, very vocal that that's going to happen. Why are we making it easier for people to get higher risk mortgages? Why are we bringing down the stress test? And the reason is the Bank of Canada doesn't seem to be, they're not following that. They're not following that move. They're just bringing interest rates down because they're trying to strengthen things. We have a very solid banking segment. We don't need these crazy actions. Just keep it how it is. It's okay. It's okay. Let's get more supply out here, right? But it seems to be agreed by many people, and including myself, if you follow the podcast, that crisis, if it will happen in the next 4 to 5 months. It'll happen over the winter time. If they believe there will be a decline, tightening is actually making the situation worse, and the timing is terrible. It doesn't line up even if they think prices will fall. Terrible decision from CMHC, and tension being caused, and clearly opposing views between them and the BOC. You'd think they'd be on the same team, scratching each other's backs. But instead, they're in each other's faces, scratching beards. Remember, kids, a man does not grow a beard grows a man. All right, let's move on. Finance Yahoo. Interesting point. We're going to move into our last topic, but I want to give you some of the highlights, the big news that I'm kind of keeping my eye on. This one's interesting, guys. Your credit score. A lot of people I know, probably hundreds of thousands of Canadians, were taking advantage of the mortgage deferral, even though they didn't really need it. And the numbers are showing that now. But recognize that it could impact your credit score. Go on to Equifax maybe in the next month or so and just run a quick report. It's $26. Very easy to do. We do it all the time. Doesn't affect your credit at all to run as a Canadian. You can just jump on and pump that puppy out. And just make sure that they're doing a proper job reporting it, because it does need to get reported. That deferral gets reported, but it doesn't affect your credit score, but it will be on your report, which is why a lot of people were a little hesitant to do it in the first place. But just make sure they report it correctly, because it could hit, they say that if it's deferred payments are not reported correctly, it could affect you 150 points, which is a pretty big drop. Enough to go from what was qualifying for a mortgage, but you could be from 800 to 650 and you would no longer qualify for a mortgage. Okay, next topic is We Charity, just to brush on this thing as it fades into the wind and Trudeau gets off scot-free, which is probably what's going to happen. The We Charity lays off staff and they look to sell Toronto real estate. Why I brought this up as an article was because owning real estate is not a crime, but it's being made to look that way. And so We Charity, because of all of their conflict of interest and these challenges that they've got with the Prime Minister, who's probably not going to take the fall, they're losing a lot of business, and so they're dumping a lot of their properties. That's the way the cookie crumbles. That's the way the real estate goes. We believe now more than ever in the importance of the work that We Charity is focused on, and have confidence that by streamlining our operations in this way and renewing our focus on international development, we will find a path forward. You're allowed to get rich, but this particular organization is not allowed to do it through real estate. And so goodbye, we. See you later. All right, let's move on. TDSB, the school board, right? Things are going to reopen in September, which is critical if we're going to get our economy back on track. Speaking of schools, I don't always attempt No Shave November, but when I do, who calls it No Shave November? This is how you know I don't make all these jokes up. No Shave November. You mean Movember? Oh yeah, I'm participating in No Shave November. I don't always attempt No Shave November, but when I do, I look like someone who's legally banned from living near a school. That was the joke. It's a terrible joke. Like, why am I even putting this in there? Stick to the more original stuff. This is going to get me arrested here. But schools are going to be opening in September. Actually, some schools I'm learning have actually already opened. There's a lot of pilot projects that are kind of already running. But the TDSB is now trying to figure out, is it safe to reopen schools? And they're planning that it will be. In fact, they did a webinar last night between 6:30 and 8:30. Haven't seen any news personally on it, but keep an eye out. More news will come out today. And board staff are expected to speak about what safety steps were taken, including the mandatory use of face coverings for children in grades 4 to 12. Those grade 4s that can't show off those beards. They can't. Those 5 o'clock shadows with a mask, they're gone. You call it a beard. I call it magnificence escaping through your face. All right. Are you sick of beard jokes? You don't even right around telling beard jokes. You're like, why are you telling somebody beard jokes today? Okay, all right. Our last topic of the day. This is a great segue into this. This idea, this came from BlogTO. The article is called "One of Toronto's Most Famous Vacant Stores is Turning into Condos," which is really the point. The scenario on who it is irrelevant. I'll tell you because, they're talking about it in this article. But the main thing is this idea of the developing of the Yellow Belt, transitioning from commercial real estate, which got clobbered, into residential real estate. I'm going to expect a whole bunch more articles like this to continue to come out. In fact, this is a really small project. Where was it located? Well, at Queen and Niagara, there's this vacant unit that's been there for the last 7 years. It's got James Dean in the window. It used to be a store called Gold's Used Appliances. It's 835 Queen Street West. Prior to 2011, it was Gold's. It was called Addison Used Appliances, which was canceled in 2010. They never said it was a heritage building, and so they're going to be developing this thing. And they're going to be putting in a 6-story mixed-use residential building. And it's going to have 21 new condo units. Again, not a big project, but this idea of commercial space converting into residential, I believe, is a trend that we got to get used to. I used to hate the idea of everything switching to condos, but now I don't mind. I don't mind the idea because we really do need the housing. It's just like I used to hate facial hair, but then it grew on me. Oh, you thought I was being serious there? You thought I was being serious? No seriousness here, guys. Okay, so this idea of housing, prices. Is there a place for you to buy a detached home for under $1 million? Is it possible? Well, our average in Toronto is under $1 million, so of course. The average home price in the GTA is now the closest it's ever been to reaching $1 million after hitting an average $943,710 in July. It's getting expensive. We're going to reach that $1 million mark very, very soon. Here's what they say, though. Very interesting point. While this is daunting information to digest, there are, in fact, 5 districts in Toronto proper where you can find an average detached price below $1 million. While this is promising, RE/MAX says this is actually down from 12 markets last year. It has split by more than half the properties available, the districts that have under $1 million. Just for fun, let's go through the list with you guys, because maybe you own a property or maybe you're considering these areas. If you're wondering, what is under $1 million? Where should I be looking? I'm going to run through this list quite quickly. So currently areas of West Humber, Clareville, Rexdale, Kipling, Elms, Old Rexdale, Thistletown, Beaumont Heights, and Mount Olive, Silverstone, Jamestown. That's Region 1. Followed by Bendale, Woburn, Morningside. We've got areas like Malvern and Rouge. Areas of Rockcliffe, Smythe, Keelsdale, Eglinton West, Caledonia, Fairbank, Corso, Italia, Davenport, and Weston, Pelham Park. And they've also got finally the areas of Wexford, Maryvale, Clarely, Birchmount, and Kennedy Park, Ironvale, Dorset Park. We've got a lot of areas that are currently averaging under $1 million. Go check them out. They've actually got a map if you want to jump in and kind of take a look and take a peek. But they say greater affordability can be found even further from Toronto proper, especially in the 905, of course, where single family homes, there's 20 to 30 districts that are priced below $1 million. And according to RE/MAX, the vast majority of these are located in Durham Region, Simcoe County, and Dufferin. But of course, we've got, they say in these regions, so we've got Brock is 552,000, Uxbridge 933,000. Then we've got all these areas are less than $1 million. Newmarket, Georgina, East Gwillimbury, York Region, Halton Hills, Milton in Halton Region, Brampton and Peel are all priced below $1 million. There's still a lot of opportunities, guys, if you want to find something under $1 million, but keep in mind that trend. Is that going to last for long? No, you're going to see these Toronto proper communities continue to get gobbled up, maybe not for the next few months, but into next year, absolutely. I get a lot of questions like, should I be buying? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? And my expectation is by spring 2021, if we don't get clobbered this winter by something like a second wave, I expect we are going to have ourselves one hot market next year. It'll be very interesting to see. But thank you for tuning in. And thank you for those amazing messages and questions and comments. I'm here to help. Sometimes I get all emotional over here. Don't cry. Don't worry. Men don't cry. They water their beards. I love you all with my beard. I'd say heart, but my beard is much bigger today. So I think I got to go shave. I'll see you guys next time. Take care and keep it real.